Hello, my name is Lorraine Garvey of District 32, and I've got the absolute pleasure of having a conversation today with Torrin Minutillo of Attergy. How are you, Torrin?
Thanks, Lorraine. Yeah, I'm going really well. Thanks for the opportunity to have a chat about this, which is good.
So I just love talking about psychology and anything, right? Particularly where it's around business. It's so important that we get to peek, beneath the surface of sales, communication, in business. To get anywhere, we have to understand people. Now, just to introduce you a little bit, Torrin, we've known you for a wee while now in the District 32 arena, but we've heard you speak, we've heard you talk about psychology, we've heard you talk about sales, and we've got lots of our members have attended some of your mastermind forums on this topic of sales and diving deep into that topic. Torrin, tell us, how did you end up here? What got you to this topic, and where's your passion there?
That's a really good question. It's probably more the mother of invention. So for me, being in business now, this will soon be 34 years continuous. And my business journey is split up into sort of two halves, one pre-global financial crisis and one after. And so the curve was heading in the right direction until I ran into the global financial crisis, like many people. So I sort of tripped over at that point, and I sort of went backwards quite a bit, and it was really through a journey of trying to figure out how did I get myself into that position, and why did the apple cart get tipped over. And I spent literally two and a half, 3 years before I sort of found myself out of that. And one of the catalysts was just understanding about human behavior and what was it I was doing that was leading me to maybe fall over. And then what I started to see was patterns in other people that potentially had done the same thing. So really for me, it was like an introspection, learning about myself. And then from there, I started to understand human behavior. So I really became a student of behavioral science, and why we get what we get and why we don't get what we want sometimes. And so one of my favorite questions was, why don't we get what we say we want? Because everybody sort of says they want a certain thing, but their behaviors don't always play out for them to be able to achieve what they want. So that sort of led me on a path while I was building my own business, trying to find. And then what happened was, as I started to get momentum and started to understand this better, my business, which was I was in the real estate business, started to grow exponentially quick. And so once that started to happen, I doubled down on it, and I just became a real literally an addict to understanding human behavior. And I started to read everything I could, and so that's become my passion, which is out of necessity. So fast forward the second half of my business journey, which leads me up to now, is I've now got a real estate company which is reasonably self-sufficient, doesn't need me in there as much as it used to, and that was sort of by design, not by default. And that's allowed me to have time now to follow the passion, which is to help other business owners build their business. And I'm strategically working in the area of understanding, getting people to become very self-aware of why they're getting the results they're getting and why they're not getting the ones they want. And part of all that, obviously, is sales. Sales is a huge component of business. And so the thing I'll finish off by saying that is that what I've come to understand is that business is just an expression of the human experience. So when we understand the human experience at a deeper level, we can start to understand how that applies into the business arena, just like any other arena of your life. And so understanding that and understanding human behavior has helped me get to the point of, being passionate about now sharing this knowledge that I'm gaining with other people, and to see if I can benefit them on their journey, on their pathway. So that in a nutshell is about where the last 34 years of my journey, Lorraine.
Yeah, okay. Well, that's practice, it's polish. I'm going to lean into a couple of bits before them, Torrin. First of all, I got to say, you say you had to do that. I don't think a lot of people don't have to do that. A lot of people might just have said, oh, well, that didn't work. Yeah. Let's move on to the next thing. It's that it takes a certain type of person to go and figure out what you can do better. And I think, which leads into you saying, the sales of the business is an expression of the human experience. I absolutely loved that phrase. And I heard a quote, it was just yesterday, and somebody says, trying to change your external environment is futile.
Yep.
Because it's, it's who you are and how you're going about life and the conversations you're having, the awareness that changes your external world. So that's also a topic I'm really passionate about.
Look, that's a super important point, because I think for me, what I did in the first phase of my business life was looked external of myself for the things that I was trying to achieve in business. And the second half of my journey was very much an inward journey, looking for internal changes to get what I wanted external. I think what happens is when people trip over in business, or they reach a ceiling or a place they can't move forward, they're continuously looking external of themselves for the answers. Whereas what most people that I've heard, and lots of stories, and the library's full of books of people who have reached the top of the mountain, and they'll all at some point in their story will say that once I turned inwardly and figured out who I was internally and started to apply that, that's what was the catalyst that changed the direction of my business life. And I'm a living example of that. And so I think, one of the messages for the people I help is to understand is that if you are observant and you're becoming aware that you are looking external, and there's a pathway we can take people through to understand that, then and you start to change how you start looking inwardly and changing who you are and how you're interacting with other people, that's going to change not only your business life, but your own personal life, and how you achieve and getting enjoyment and fulfillment out of whatever it is that you've chosen to do. And my area of expertise is helping business owners, because I've had 30 odd years of experience. So I know the pitfalls, I know the peaks and the troughs, and I know the challenges. And look, and everybody's got an individual journey, of course. And look, so that's the sort of reason, is really that catalyst. And you highlighted that, which is so true, is that if you're looking external for all the answers, then maybe you should consider looking internal and understanding your own psychology, the psychology of the people around you, and how you lead better, all sort of intertwines back into the human experience, which is what we like to help people understand.
And I just love your work. It really resonates with me deeply. And, because there's a fine line between, going in and understanding yourself and who you are and having a level of awareness doesn't mean I'm broken.
No,
it doesn't mean, and so like that's that could be perceived that way with some people. It's not about being broken. It's just about going deeper on the exploration.
No, and I think it's about improving and becoming the best version of yourself. So whatever the version you are now of yourself, looking inwardly is going to help you become a better version of yourself, and then better people make better business owners, and better whatever you're choosing to do. If you're a better person, understand yourself better and the people around you, that's going to help you achieve whatever it is that you're trying to achieve. And as I said, for me, it's about connecting the two to the business environment and helping people who have chosen the business pathway, which we know can be full of potholes. And so and look, and it's fun, and I think understanding, I'm on a consistent learning journey. So each week, each month, I add another layer to learning around human behavior. There's no end to it. You can't ever know enough about human behavior and why we do what we do and what we don't. So it's a continuous journey, and it's a fun journey too.
It is, and it's that I like how you framed that as well. The people who have chosen business as their journey, but that is the journey. Then that is the self-development journey. We've chosen business as the learning curve.
One person said to me once, is like, if you want a fast-tracked self-awareness journey, get into business.
Yeah, that's right. So Torrin, I'm really, really excited because you're going to present for District 32 is a full day pathway to growth training for the business community. And that's about people being able to choose their own path through the workshops. There's 12 workshops in the day, people can choose 6. And that's so that you can meet people where they're at, and we make sure that, we get the right people for the right presenter. So Torrin, I'm really excited because you're going to dive much deeper on what we've just given some insights there. And you're going to share with people how we can simplify the psychology of sales. What are they going to learn on the day, and why is it really important that business owners come and learn this information? I know we've tapped on a little bit, but I'll...
No, it's good. And I think probably the way to sort of explain a little bit, because we've got limited time and we've got an hour to present. So I also don't want to overwhelm people and think that this is going to be a deep psychological journey into the human experience. What I'm trying to do is, in this hour, is to show people that there's some simple steps you can take to really connect. And I think we know that sales is an emotional game. Most people who are in business understand that if you don't make an emotional connection and you try and sell the benefits of what you're trying to achieve versus the features, you're going to stumble and really need to get that connection. So for me, what I'm not going to be talking about, which is the distinction here, is the tactical and strategic stuff that you know about your business that's going to help make the sale, right? I'm going to park that. I'm going to talk about human connection. And because there's a missing piece that most people in business sales, and I call it an invisible barrier, that often in the first 3 to 5 minutes of an interaction, if you don't get past that invisible barrier, no matter how good your product or service is afterwards, it's going to potentially fall on deaf ears, which is the reason why people at the end of a conversation or a presentation say that went really well, but I never heard from them again. And most likely is because all the product and service that you presented, you didn't make a human connection at the start. And what we know about the human experience is that if your nervous system isn't relaxed and feeling trusting in the connection with the person, there's going to be an invisible barrier there, which is mostly unconscious, that you're not even aware of. So there's 2 or 3 things that I'll talk about in this workshop that will help you in the first 3 to 5 minutes in a conversation to break down that invisible barrier. Now, the catch is this doesn't guarantee you the sale, but what it does is heightens the ability or heightens the possibility of you getting the sale. If you don't do this, it's an invisible barrier that could be destroying the sale before you even get going. And that is human connection. Our nervous system is built for human connection and to keep us safe. They're the 2 fundamental neurobiology things. So in a sales environment, if we can't get past the human connection part, then whatever you say after that in the next 10 minutes or 2 hours is not going to be received well, because that person's internal nervous system is going to be alert to where's the dangers here. So what I'm going to be talking about is to simplify the psychology of sales is let's just get people focused away from this 1-hour presentation on what's the one thing that I can focus on when I first meet someone in an interaction. And this doesn't necessarily just apply to sales. This applies to when you're trying to connect with anybody on any level. And of course, if you can't connect with another human being when you're trying to sell them something, unless that person's desperately for the product or service you got and they don't care about that, which can happen, but that's a scattergun approach. That's not necessarily the best approach to take. And the other part of this for people to understand if they're making a choice to come along to this presentation is that the higher the ticket sale of whatever it is that you're trying to sell. So for instance, if you're selling a cup of coffee at $5 versus something at $500 and then something at $5,000, the human connection is more important the higher you go up that scale.
Wow.
Now, also, if you've got a small ticket item or you're selling a product, to get repetitive sales, assuming that's a consumable, breaking down this barrier of human connection is what's going to get you repeat sales because they feel comfortable with who you are in providing that repeat sales. So and I think I've said in my little, the words that I've sent to you to share is that really there's 3 types of people that will benefit from this. And it's the person who doesn't really like selling, and so therefore they avoid it. And we know that's not a good pathway in business. That's not a good strategy. Then there's the person who understands that, hey, I need sales, but I don't really enjoy it. So we're going to help them to enjoy sales, and the people who don't like it. And then there's the person who does enjoy sales, but they want to get a better conversion rate. Because I can tell you that if you get past this invisible barrier, your conversion rate will potentially double by simply doing a couple of little things that. And what happens is you're not going to walk away from this and go, right, I've got it. It takes practice, like everything. You can't get good at what you're not doing. So you have to implement and practice these things that you learn, and then as you figure out your style of how to implement them and how to connect better with the people and that's when we get into coaching, we then get into the situation is what's your situation, what are you presenting, what are you trying to achieve, and we mold a pathway for that, as opposed to, and that's different for every business because every individual owner who's trying to present is different, and every prospect they're meeting is different. So if you've got a one cookie cutter approach to everybody, you're now reducing the potential of making the sale to the people that happen to engage exactly of how you present, as opposed to understanding, making a connection, and now you've got a broader audience to listen to whatever your product or service is that you're trying to sell. So we're going to get into that part of the sale. I'm not going to talk about strategies and tactics because I think there's other people that can do that. My level of expertise is about understanding the human behavior side of this and how to make a quick connection, because I've understood that because this is another thing, right? The final point here is that the top salespeople that I observed and have seen in action, this is what they do really well, is they make that human connection right at the start. Whereas the people who aren't top salespeople is that they're so focused on their product and service as they forget they have to make a human connection. And they believe that what they've got is so good that this person's going to say yes to that. And the challenge is that there's most likely 5 or 10, 15 options for that person to decide who they're going to deal with. And if they don't make a human connection, they're not going to go with that person. So that's what we're going to learn in 1 hour.
Beautiful. It's a bit of a challenge for you there, Torrin.
Well, yeah, and I think what people will realize is out of this is that I'm going to talk about one psychological trait that they're going to learn, and I'm going to give them one thing to take away with. So we're not going to talk about 20 things. Yeah. And that sometimes can be in an hour presentation. If you can get one message across and get that person implementing that, that's the best way to actually get value and do something with it. That's what we're going to do.
Thank you very much. I love your work, love your style, really excited about the presentation. And I like to think about it as well. It's like the driving the car. You know, at the first level, you're learning the mechanics, you know, and then once you learn the mechanics, you're actually looking at the environment you're in and how you can navigate better. And I think that's how we're going to deep dive into your workshop. So Torrin, thank you very much. Thank you for sharing your time today. And I look forward to seeing you at the Pathway to Growth workshop.
Excellent, Ryan. I'm looking forward to it too. Should be good fun.
Thank you. Bye.